Imagine a crisp September night in rural Virginia, the kind where crickets hum and stars blanket the sky. Suddenly, air raid sirens pierce the quiet, and radar screens at a nearby U.S. Air Force base flare with alerts unidentified drones have slipped across the border from a conflict zone. F-35 jets scream into the sky. A small town scrambles to evacuate, and one drone grazes a grain silo, sparking chaos, but no casualties. Was it a glitch in navigation? Or was someone poking at the defenses that guard America and its allies? Now swap Virginia for eastern Poland. And that's the scene that unfolded on September 9 to 10. Incursion. Russian drones breached NATO's airspace, and Warsaw didn't buy Moscow's excuse of a navigational error. This happened during Russia's massive Zapad 2025 war games, a simulated clash with NATO that had Pentagon planners and Western leaders debating how to respond without tipping the scales toward escalation. According to Poland's Ministry of Defense, 19 to 23 Russian drones crossed from the Ukrainian front into Polish airspace, a serious violation that rattled a farming village called Wyriki. Polish F-16 seconds scrambled. Air defense systems hummed, and Dutch F-35 seconds downed 4 drones, marking the first time NATO directly engaged Russian assets in its own skies. The damage was minor, a farm building hit. No lives lost, but the message was loud. Warsaw summoned Russia's ambassador, calling it a deliberate breach of sovereignty. The Kremlin, per Reuters, waved it off as a technical flub, claiming the drones, likely Gerbera decoys with a 900-kilometer range, drifted off course. But the timing and coordination raise eyebrows. These weren't stray kites, they moved in parallel paths, almost like a choreographed dance. During Russia's loudest military flex of the year, Zapad 2025, running September 12 to 16, it wasn't just a drill, it was a 30,000 troop spectacle with hypersonic missile tests and mock nuclear strikes, designed to flex Moscow's muscles at NATO's doorstep. The Associated Press noted Polish jets took minutes to track the low-flying drones, a delay that matters when seconds are precious. Poland's choice not to shoot, despite legal grounds under international law, showed restraint, a signal the Kremlin likely clocked. Russian state media, like RIA Novosti, spun the incident as proof NATO's defenses are full of holes, while Poland's foreign minister, Radosław Sikorski, called it a test of alliance resolve. The Guardian reported some drones were unarmed decoys, possibly meant to jam radar, muddying the accident narrative. This wasn't a one-off. Reuters points out that past border violations were usually lone drones or missiles, not a coordinated swarm. The timing smack in the middle of Zapad's chaos, with NATO debating long-range weapons for Ukraine and London summoning Russia's ambassador over unrelated provocations, screams strategy. The Center for Strategic and International Studies warns that such exercises flood radar with noise, creating cover for small moves like drones to slip through. Poland's decision not to invoke NATO's Article 4, a formal consultation for threats, showed political caution, a choice Moscow likely noted as a hesitancy to escalate. The UN Security Council's September 12 Incursion session, where 46 nations condemned Russia, underscores the stakes. This video isn't about stirring panic with end-of-the-world headlines. It's about dissecting what happened, why it feels intentional, and what it means for the U.S., where 10,000 troops stand ready in Poland and the Baltics. If this was a test, Russia wasn't just buzzing a Polish village, it was probing the alliance that keeps America secure. We'll unravel why this incident stands out, what Moscow might have been measuring, and how it exposes NATO's strengths and vulnerabilities. With Romania reporting a similar drone breach on September 13, per Reuters, and tensions spiking in 2025. This is no time for guesswork. Let's dive into the facts and figure out what's at play when a NATO border gets crossed. Was this a mistake or a calculated move? The drone's synchronized paths, per the Associated Press, suggest intent. Unlike past single drone blunders, Zappad's radar-saturating chaos created a perfect storm for testing NATO's alertness. The Center for Strategic and International Studies notes that hybrid tactics, small, ambiguous probes like this, exploit confusion without sparking war. Russia's denial, echoed by RT's claim of technical errors, contrasts with its media's gloating. A classic Kremlin play to keep options open. The Guardian's report of unarmed decoys adds ambiguity, but former President Trump's September 2025 comment, calling it a mistake, shows even allies differ on intent. If this was a test, what was Moscow after? Let's explore. If Russia sent those drones on purpose, it wasn't just to rattle Polish farmers, it was to check NATO's pulse. Moscow wanted to know, how fast can the alliance react, how united are its members, and do they have the stomach for a fight? The Associated Press reported, Polish F-16 seconds were airborne within minutes. But tracking the low-flying drones took longer. A gap that could spell trouble in a real crisis. NATO's Combined Air Operations Center in Germany synced with Baltic allies, but only after Poland confirmed the breach. Per Reuters, this sequence reveals a critical truth: the frontline nation acts first, and the alliance follows. Moscow might have been timing that delay like a referee watching a sprint, looking for windows to exploit. The rules of engagement tell a deeper story. Poland didn't authorize its pilots to fire, even though international law permits it for imminent threats. The BBC noted this restraint sent a signal of caution, not just to Moscow, but to NATO itself. During Zapad 2025, Russia flooded regional radar with activity near Belarus, creating a chaotic backdrop where small drones, like the Gerbera decoys with a 900-kilometer range, could slip through low-altitude blind spots. The International Institute for Strategic Studies' 2025 report highlights that many eastern NATO states struggle with low-altitude radar coverage, exactly where these drones fly. This clutter, per the Center for Strategic and International Studies, is tailor-made for hybrid tactics probes that test without triggering all-out conflict. Politically, the incident exposed cracks. Baltic leaders, per the BBC, labeled it a serious warning, pushing for stronger defenses, while some Western capitals, including Paris and Berlin, urged calm to avoid escalation. This divide is gold for Moscow, which thrives on NATO's indecision. Russian outlets like RIA Novosti spun the breach as proof the alliance's defenses are shaky. A narrative echoed in X-posts from September 2025 calling NATO's response too slow. If the Kremlin was testing, it was measuring three things: reaction speed, minutes-long delays, unity Baltic urgency versus Western caution, and risk tolerance. Poland's no-shoot call, Warsaw's restraint, while strategic, might signal to Russia that NATO blinks under pressure. What did Moscow conclude? Three possibilities, each with risks. First, NATO's deterrence is robust but sluggish. Polish jets moved fast, but the tracking delay suggests a window for a surprise strike, per the Associated Press. Second, NATO's resolve varies by region. The Baltics, on high alert, contrast with Poland and Romania's softer stance. As the BBC observed, Romania's similar drone breach on September 13, Incursion, reinforces this pattern. Third, and most concerning, NATO's political unity is fragile. Russian media's narrative that the West won't risk a fight could embolden bolder probes, like cyber attacks or larger incursions. A 2023 RAND study warns that small incidents normalize tension, eroding readiness until a distracted alliance falters. The Kremlin's game isn't war, not yet. It's about psychology, probing for weaknesses in NATO's armor. The Center for Strategic and International Studies notes Europe's air defense stockpiles are thin, with Polish F-16 seconds flying at unsustainable rates. Ex-posts from September 2025 highlight NATO's strain, with Dutch and French jets joining patrols after the breach. If Moscow thinks NATO's slow, divided, or risk-averse, the next test could escalate more drones, radar jamming, or cyber probes. The UN Security Council's September 12 condemnation by 46 nations shows global alarm, but Russia's denial keeps the door open for more tests. For the U.S., with 10,000 troops in Poland and the Baltics, this is more than a European problem, it's a Pentagon priority. How does America fit into this high-stakes chess match? Let's find out. For the United States, a few drones over Poland aren't just a European hiccup, they're a Pentagon wake-up call. America leads NATO's Combined Air Operations Center in Germany and has 10,000 troops across Poland and the Baltics. Per the Associated Press, every Russian border breach triggers U.S. assets F-35 seconds, surveillance drones, tankers burning fuel, parts, and crew hours. Since 2022, the U.S. has surged 20,000 more troops to Europe, while juggling deterrence in the Indo-Pacific against China and tensions in the Middle East over Iran's uranium push. Per the Pentagon's 2025 report, the Center for American Security and RAND call this the two-war trap, where America's stretched too thin to cover all fronts. If Europe can't hold its line, Washington gets dragged in, whether it's ready or not. The Poland incident forces a tough question. Can the U.S. maintain NATO's credibility without overextending? Deterrence hinges on Moscow, believing America will act. But hesitation, like Poland's no-shoot decision, could signal weakness. Reuters notes that Beijing, Tehran, and Pyongyang are watching. With Iran's 2025 nuclear moves and China's Taiwan drills adding pressure, a weak response here could embolden tests elsewhere, from Pacific skies to Gulf shipping lanes. But overreacting risks escalation, more drones, cyber attacks, or worse, the 2022 Poland missile incident, where a stray Ukrainian projectile killed 2 civilians, showed how thin the line is. NATO held an emergency meeting, fearing war, until it was ruled an accident. The September 2025 drone breach, with Romania's similar incident on September 13, sits on that same knife edge. Miscalculation is the real danger. RAND's 2023 study says nuclear wars often start not with intent but with errors, a misread radar blip, a civilian plane mistaken for a drone, a pilot firing too soon. NATO's radar is crowded. Pilots fly grueling schedules, and leaders face pressure to look tough. The UN Security Council's September 12 Liaoning session, where 46 nations condemned Russia, shows the stakes. Ex-posts from Zelensky calling for unified air defenses and Sikorsky's test accusation reflect the tension. The Guardian's report that some drones were unarmed, Gerbera decoys adds ambiguity, accident, or strategy. Trump's September 2025 comment calling it a mistake shows even allies disagree, complicating NATO's messaging. NATO can strengthen its defenses without firing a shot, deploy more air defense systems to Poland and the Baltics, targeting low-altitude gaps, per the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Update engagement rules to let local commanders act faster. Reducing delays. Increase joint U.S. European patrols and publicize reaction times to show Moscow no window exists. Hit Russia quietly with cyber defenses or sanctions on drone tech. Per the Center for Strategic and International Studies, unity is the ultimate deterrent, not just firepower, but allies moving as one. The challenge is balance act too soft, and Moscow pushes harder. Act too bold, and you risk the confrontation Russia craves. Moscow's goal isn't war, it's leverage. Drones are cheap, division is priceless. Russia denies intent while its media brags, keeping options open. Tests like this hit when the West distracted U.S. elections. European budget fights measuring attention spans. Per the BBC, if America looks stretched, Russia's small wins ripple to Beijing and Tehran. The fix, clear. Swift cost more defenses. Unified messaging without handing Moscow a crisis. The Kremlin fears certainty, not strength. If NATO acts decisively, probes lose their edge. Romania's breach and the UN's condemnation signal this isn't a one-off. What should Washington do? Show resolve now and risk escalation? Or play smart with quiet, firm moves? Share your take below. If this breakdown clarified Russia's game, hit like and subscribe to Safety Zone for more no-nonsense analysis. The next test is coming. America's response will shape what's next.